Good day, Andrew and Natalie and Nathan and Lydia, Mason, Bella, Chloe, Blake, and everyone who is here watching us today. Look at this picture. Isn't it an interesting picture? We're going to be looking at this for our vocabulary and understanding of our process for today. It was painted by Maurice Prendergast. Prendergast. And he is an American. With the foreign name because I can't pronounce it very well, Prendergast. And it is called Central Park 1901. That's the name of this particular picture right here. What did the man look like who painted it? This is a picture of this gentleman, Maurice, and this is the picture that he painted. Central Park. There is Central Park in New York, and that's probably the one that it's referring to because even though there may be Central Parks in other places around the world, that is more than likely where we're at right here. This is a landscape. It's like, okay, what is it? Because it could be a cityscape. It's in the city. But because of all of the trees and everything that's in there, I am going to be calling it a landscape. Now, if you have a different opinion of it, just let me know, and we can have a discussion on that if we need to. All right, so this particular picture, we're going to start with our understanding of the elements of art as we look at this picture. So we've got four of them going right now. The elements of art, the element of line, the element of shape, the element of color, and the element of space. And we've been looking at these as we're going down. All pictures have these things in them. And so we're going to start by looking at the element of line in this particular picture right here. All right, line. Lines go in a lot of different directions. You have straight and diagonal and vertical and circled and squiggly and all of those things there. But we're going to be looking, as we look at line today, we're going to be looking at the diagonals and the verticals and horizontals. Diagonal, remember, is on an angle. It goes from one side of the paper to the other or something similar to that. So we're going to take this off of here so we can see more of it. This is covering up some of our trees, so we may move that in a little bit. Yeah, if I move that down and that up, that'll help us a little. So we're looking for diagonal lines right now. Ones that go from side to side. Do you see any? Let's look really, really close. I see some diagonal lines in the wheel here. Did you see those? Okay. How about some more? Do you see any more? There's a diagonal line on the harness and some of the other harness works. There's some diagonal lines. How about horizontal? Horizontal goes from one side of the paper to the other, this way, back and forth. Horizontal lines. Horizontal lines in the bench, for sure. There's a lot of horizontal lines right there. And then you can see some others in some of the carriage works and a few back here and back there and some in the wheels even. Vertical means up and down. We're going to go to our bench again because we see vertical posts in the bench across the page, and we can see vertical in our trees. Do you see any other verticals? All right, look close. We're going to now go to the second element of art as we have it on this sheet, and that is shape. Shapes are two different kinds. One is the ones that go in all different directions, and then we have the ones that are more standard, the squares and the rectangles and the triangles. Organic shapes would be circles. Do we see any circles? Well, that looks like an umbrella going on there. It's almost a circle. The wheels are circles. How about geometric shapes like squares? Well, let's see here. There's wheels, a square there, and rectangle in the back of the benches. So there's some shapes going on here, isn't there? So now we're going to look at color. Color is the reflection of light off of an object, and our primary colors are red and yellow and green. Am I right? Am I right? You tell me. All right, so you think about that. Warm colors and cool colors is what we've been working on real closely. Warm colors are your oranges and your yellows, your reds, and a little bit of purple. Cool colors are your blue and your purple and your green. Which one does this picture have? Is it the warm colors or the cool colors? I see a whole lot of warm colors in there, in the horses and the umbrellas, and a lot of the umbrellas are warm colors, and the horses are warm colors. But then there are cool colors too. The trees and the clothing of the people down here are all cool colors, and so it's a mixture of the two. Have you been noticing in some of our pictures that we've been looking at that there's a mixture of warm and cool colors? That's pretty interesting, isn't it? It helps give a balance. Okay, we're going to move these out of the way because the next few that we're going to look at, as we're studying the element of space, we're going to be studying how we use space in this particular picture here as we look at the different parts of a picture. You have your foreground, your middle ground, and your background, okay? And if you look at these pictures on the side, it's the same picture, but different parts of them are made with color. So the foreground here is green, middle ground is green here, and the background is green here with the blue sky. So you can see the different parts. So we're going to look at the picture underneath by Maurice Prendergast of Central Park 1901 and see what we can find. Well, shall we start with the foreground? Sure. Let's start with the foreground. The foreground. All right. What's in the foreground? That's what I see in the foreground. All of these people sitting on the bench. That's the foreground. That's in the front, the first thing that you see. So now the middle ground. What's in the middle? The middle, we have the path or the road. I don't think it's a road. I think, well, it might be because you have a lot of carriages on there. You got the carriages and the horses, and people are riding in the middle ground. Now, what's in the background? In the background, we see all of the trees going on. All of the trees and a little bit of sky. So we can see in this picture pretty clearly the three different kinds of grounds. The foreground, the middle ground, and the background. And I make a really big point of that because that's what we're going to do for our project today. Let me show you the project and then we'll get ourselves going on it. All right, this is what we're going to do. And we are going to do this in such a way that we make an emphasis of the foreground, the midground, and the background. Now, the difference between this particular picture and the one that we saw a moment ago is it's not quite as distinct. You can't really tell where the differences are. But if you look really, really closely, the background has shorter blades of grass. And the middle ground, they're a little bit bigger. And the foreground, they are bigger still. When we look at the flowers, we can see that in the foreground, they're pretty big, good size. Middle ground, there's a little bit smaller, and the background, they're pretty small. So that's how we're going to understand foreground to background and how we're going to be using it. We're going to be using our brushes because we're going to be painting again. We're going to actually be using 3 different brushes, and each brush, of course, is the same thing. You have your bristles, you have your ferrule or danger zone, and you have your handle. All right, so three different brushes, and I'll explain why. We're going to be using 3 different brushes. If you notice, they are 3 different sizes. Now, if you can do this, this is great. But if you don't have brushes of 3 different sizes, then you'll just have to try a little bit harder to keep things in 3 different sizes. But this will help you if you do it this way. All right, so I'm going to get it real close so that you can see. This one is really, really thin. This one's a little bit thicker, and this one is really thicker. Okay, it's twice as thick as this, and this is twice as thick as that. All right, you don't have to have them exactly like mine. These are just mine, and so this is what we're going to be using because that's what I've got. So let's get our messy mat over here. There we go. Now, as you see here, I have already painted the green because I didn't want to take a whole lot of time with you just watching me go through the whole paper with green. We're only using, well, 2 colors and a marker. So we're going to be using red and we're going to be using green. Okay, so the green is what I did on this already. And I started with, did I start with? I did. I started with the small one, and I started in the back. And I started on the bottom and went, oop, boom, 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 sort of flinging it up as I went. And as the paint got off of the brush, there was not as much. I still went until it was almost dry to give it a different texture, because some of the ones that didn't have, some of the brush strokes that didn't have a lot of paint on it sort of even look like they're further in the background than the ones with lots of paint on it. So then we got the middle-sized brush, and we did the same thing. We just flicked it up just a little bit. We don't want to have a big, long strand. We just want to flick, flick, flick. And we're going from the bottom up so that the top of it has little, either a point or a few different points on it, like those there. I'll show you real close. You see the different points, because grass looks like that. If you turned it upside down, it would look like, it doesn't look quite like grass. But this way it looks more like grass because of the different points that the brushes are going to make. And then took the last one, and we went up, 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 up. Just a little bit of flick as we went, and we did it, okay? So that helped us because this one had more paint on it. It gave a bigger spot on it, and the mid-ground gave us a spot that was a little bit less, and then the background gave us a spot that was even smaller. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take the red. I didn't put any in here, so let me just put a little. You never need quite as much paint as you think you do. This is what I have found. So with this one, I am going to use the mid-size brush, and I'm going to do that with all of it, and so you can see how to do it with one brush if all you have is one brush. And we're going to start with this. We're going to start with the bottom this time instead of from the top. And we're not going to make a circle. So those of you who say, well, I can't make circles, no biggie. You just want to make a, what is it, geometric or organic? If you said organic, you are right, an organic shape. All right, and you're going to do, a line. Doing them in lines is okay, of organic shape this way. And then we're going to do another line, but see, I'm not doing it right behind the other one. I'm doing it to the side. Now, all of these organic shapes are about the same size. All right, and I didn't do them very, very big. I could have done them bigger, and it might have worked out okay. So I have to do these smaller. Now, you that have big brush strokes might have bigger flowers than mine, and that's okay. All right, and so, but these I want to do a bit smaller than that first couple of rows. As you see, they look like they're close, but they are smaller. I don't have as much paint and as much strokes on them. On the very, very back, now this is the background, what we're going to do is just put the brush on there and twist it around a little bit so that it has an idea of a flower, but it's much, 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 much smaller. We're not giving it any big organic shape. It's just almost circles back there. But you see how I sort of moved it into the second one? That was on purpose because we want to blend it. They want to go in from one to the next. All right, so there's a couple of different steps to this project. And as you notice, I did the first step before we even started. Then I did the red paint. Now on the one that I did to show you what it's going to look like, I have little black dots on it. I can't do those black dots on here right now because it's very wet. So I'm going to have to wait a little bit. So this is one of those paint and wait, paint and wait, paint and wait projects. But you don't have to wait very long unless you are really, really thick with your paint. You might have to wait a little bit longer. So you're going to have patience with this. Now what I did with the black is I used a black marker. If you have black paint, that's fine. Most people don't have black paint in their repertoire, in their grouping of paints that they get from the store. Black is not one of them that comes, I don't think. If you do, awesome. Use black paint and just put a little bit of black dots on there. I put some black dots in the background ones, but you don't have to. You can just leave those just red and it'll be okay. Now, one of the things you can't see very well, because I couldn't find exactly what I wanted to use, was that they have some little pestles, is what they call them, I believe. I'm pronouncing it correct. Some of them you can see, and some of them you can't. I used a green marker. The green marker did not show up very well. Now that it's completely dry, it was a little wet yesterday still. Now that it's completely dry, it may show up better. I don't know. But if you want to draw a few pestles in there, that would just make it look perfectly like a flower. But you don't have to do that. So back to the one that we're doing right now, you can see the difference, just like in the other one, from the foreground, midground, and background. And so that is the point that we wanted to make today. Hopefully you understand it real well and your flowers turn out beautiful with the spring days that we're having, that you can make some flowers inside. So love you all. Have a good day. See you next time.